ladies and gentlemen. My guest tonight, Jessica Harper, is here. Also, this gentleman, who I'll introduce right now. Plus, a stirring message later on from the League of Women's Voters Players. It was my first guest who gave young performers and writers such as Carl Reiner, Woody Allen, Neil Simon, and Mel Brooks their humble beginnings, and also inspired much of the comedy we've seen on television in the years to follow. Your Show of Shows and Caesar's Hour are considered to be television classics. The man behind these programs has now written a startling and very funny autobiography, a copy of which I'm holding here in my left hand. It's entitled, Where Have I Been? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sid Caesar. I understand the book is doing quite well, and I must say I enjoyed it. Very entertaining, interesting, informative piece of work. Congratulations on that, sir. Tell me about your Show of Shows. This was the first time you went on the air was 1949, was it?
Right.
And what was the show then? That was not your show.
That was the Admiral Broadway Revue.
Yeah. What was that like? Did you have any idea at the time that you were beginning something that years and years later would be...
No. In fact, when we went on, it's just we had to wait. We did our first show at the International Theater on 59th Street, which is not there anymore. But we had to wait for the cameras to come in from Ebbets Field so we could rehearse. Mm-hmm. Because the NBC only had about maybe 15 cameras. So that we had to wait for those to come in. And we didn't know even where to put the footlights. I mean, where to put the microphones. Put them in a footlight, put them in here, put them there. We really didn't know because there was no book. It didn't say, when you do television, do that. Mm-hmm. And then when you do television, you do this. There was nothing. So we had to actually improvise as we went along.
So you're making up your own rules and experimenting and...
That's right. Yeah. And that was the fun of it, because there was fun, because you said, wait, let's try this. The most we can do is fail. Mm-hmm. And how many people are watching anyway?
In the book, you mentioned that particular show was canceled at the end of what, a summer run?
No, we did, no, that was the regular run. But it was supposed to be something like 30 weeks, and we canceled after 19 shows.
19 shows. Why was it canceled?
Because they said it was just canceled. I found out later it was canceled because they did too much business. They used to sell, it was Admiral, and they were used to making 500 sets a week and selling 500 sets a week. And about 3-4 weeks into the show, they started getting orders for 10,000 sets, and they called us up and said, we got to cancel. So I walked up, and Siragusa, who was the head at the time, he said, we have to cancel because we have to put the money into either new tooling or put it in the show. I said, well, let's put it into new tooling. You'll have all the sets you want to make, but you won't sell them. Yeah. But that's the way they work.
But that's amazing, though, because, of course, today it's just, nothing could be farther from the truth. A company dropping its sponsorship before. Did that happen in a lot of cases, or was this the only one?
No, that was just the one.
Yeah. One. And so then it was not long after that you came back on the air with your Show of Shows.
Yes, we came right back after that with Show of Shows. But we had learned so much from Admiral Broadway Revue, because it truly was, primeval, practically, because it was the primeval soup where all the things were mixing. And Imogene and I had met there, and some of the writers had gotten together. Mm-hmm. So that was the warm-up for the Show of Shows. Yeah.
Now, this list of people that is always associated with you and your television projects, what was it like being in a room with Carl Reiner and Neil Simon and Mel Brooks and on and on and on, in a writing session?
Well, when we sit down to write, we had nothing to... We would work on the show, on the last week's show, right up to almost till curtain time. And we had nothing prepared for the next week. I mean, that was it. We would come in and we'd sit down. We'd come in about 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd sit down, and then we'd look at each other. And Mel Brooks was always late. Always. Would never be on time if he had anything. But anyway, and the other writers used to get mad at him, And we used to sit there and we'd say, well, let's see, did you go anywhere? Because we had no social life. We used to work from 10 till 6, or sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning. And nobody went anywhere. So we used to say, did you go anywhere? Do you know anybody who went anywhere? Did anybody go anyplace anywhere?
Have you ever been anywhere?
Have you ever been? So we'd find out, somebody would find out that 2 people had tickets to a show, that they said, and I said, hey, that's a great idea. 2 tickets to a show. We used to get an idea. We'd say, hey, supposing I'm sitting at the desk, and all of a sudden, say my boss comes over and says, I got 6 tickets for the opening night of Snap Ya Gotta. And here you are. Well, I got to get 4 more people, and I have to call up. And we could split the screen in 2. That was a tremendous technological advance for us. That was like going to the moon. Mm-hmm. We split the scene in 2, but we had to split in 3. So we had to build a piece across the set And then Howie had to stand like this on a ladder so he would look like he was part of the screen.
Howie being?
Howie Morris.
Yeah.
But to go back to the writing in the room, there was such energy, so much competition, topping each other. When you have Neil Simon topping Mel Brooks and Mel Brooks topping Neil Simon and Larry Gelbart topping them both.
Were these people, did they have compatible personalities?
No. No.
Fights?
Yeah, there would be arguments. I mean, real fights, because there was a tremendous pride taken in the show. You know, we compared ourselves to Broadway. We tried to, emulate that. We didn't do it all the time, but we got pretty good. And there was a tremendous pride in the show because it was instant. It was right on, it was live, As you did it, you walked out the door. You knew right there if the show was going over, like here. You can tell if they don't have to tell you. The show was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the people tell you, because the people are the ones that you work for. And they're the ones who give you the warmth that I'm going around now and feeling.
Let me go back to in the writing room and talking about these people and their compatible personalities and stuff, but I think we're going to have to pause here. We'll
Sure.
come back and continue discussing this and a whole lot of other things with Sid Caesar. But first, Late Night would like to welcome ColecoVision, the arcade quality video system, to our program. Back to the show. Sid Caesar is here tonight, and if you're just tuning in, people in the audience saying about that avalanche earlier, they've never seen a more realistic effect anywhere. We were talking, anyway, the writers in one room. You have Neil Simon, who I've never met the man, but I get the impression he's perhaps a little more soft-spoken than someone like Mel Brooks.
Well, Neil used to talk to Carl. It's called Carl Reiner used to sit next to him because Neil would never say anything. He would just lean over to Carl, and Carl would say, I think we ought to do. I said, wait a minute. What does Neil got to say, Carl? And that's how we know.
Mm-hmm. So he had to have a guy doing his talking for him.
Yeah, Neil wasn't very talkative, but he was very bright.
Yeah.
Tremendously so.
We have some videotape or old film or kinescope or whatever this is, and I think you know what it is, right, Sid, that we're going to take a look at?
No, what is it?
Okay. This is one of the late races at Hialeah on Sunday, and...
Who won?
I think this is from a scene with you and Carl Reiner from, I believe, your show of shows.
All right.
We'll take a look and talk about that a little later. Watch the monitors here in the studio. At home, use your own TV.
I understand that you've done a lot of research in the comparative speeds of light and sound. Could you explain exactly what that difference is?
Yes, you see, that's a very good question. Thank you. Good smile.
Thank you.
Anyway, you see, light travels at a rate of 186,000 miles per second. On sound, only the slow pokey, travels 750 miles per hour, So, in other words, you will see something before you will hear it. You know what I mean?
I don't quite understand how that works.
But the light travels... Look, I show you. I will pass you with the speed of light. You understand? Or then I will say something to you, and it won't hit you because sound is slower.
You mean
You'll hear it later.
I will see you, and then I will hear you.
That's right. Now, watch. I'll show you what it's going to be here. See, I'm going to pass you now the speed of light, and then you're going to hear me. And I'll say something, all right? Here I come. You hear that? Hello? You hear that?
Yes. Where did your ideas from characters begin?
Well, actually, we just picked them up. I would see them on the street or see them anywhere. I would take from people. Because when we sat down, and when we first started the shows for an hour and a half, I said to Max Liebman, I said, we got an hour and a half to fill here. I know a few routines, but that's about all. Well, where are we going to get the material? And the main thing was to come from people. And that's where I started. It's just watching people. I would sit and just watch people do things. And then just exaggerate a little bit. And that, to me, is where all the material should come from people. Because people relate to people. They don't relate to things. Mm-hmm. And people are funny, not things.
You also developed these phony languages that would sound... And where did that came early in your life?
Well, that's when I was a kid. I was in my father's restaurant. And we had a lot of ethnic groups. We had German, Polish, French, Italian. And I would talk with them, Ma cos'è bello, più avvicinare quando si ore. Se andò sul io, mi calo la televisione. Televisione, mi quello più piace, sono le vigneri. Sono sul io, mi mandare calare, ci andò sul io, le male, quando loro e fone boloni. Perché ci And then we would send me over to a table full of, let's pick a language.
Lithuanian.
Lithuanian. На здоровье шакрев, ты понимаешь, это разломимается. Понимаешь, что не меня. На здоровье, и же нече как днем. Же мне пойче, разум не равналится, и как люди поножи меняйте, you call me up, Joe, I'll talk it over.
What about... Do you mind trying one more here? What about Chinese?
Yeesh, what dialect? Mandarin, Dingarin, Chung Fao, Fong Fong, Ting Do, so. You don't so now.
Hunan.
You don't know. What's Hunan? What do you know from Hunan? Hunan and Wahoo. How about a Wahoo Hunan? How about a Hee Ha Nuna Wachao? Dang Do, Si Do, Wu Shao. That's easy. You can do that.
Yeah, that's a little closer to the Mandarin than the Hunan, but it's close enough.
What do you care about Hunan? How about Chow Mein? You know that one, too.
You mentioned live versus videotape, and it was your decision in the beginning to do 90 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they came to you and said, how much time do you want?
They said, you want a half an hour, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I said, might as well go for broke, an hour and a half.
Yeah. Now, what happens in those days when you get 90 minutes to fill and you come down to, say, 84 minutes and you're done and you're still on the network?
That happened many, many times.
Okay, and let me interrupt you here again. I'm sorry to ask you the question. You can complete it.
I ask you the question. You can complete it after this commercial.
That's right. No working during the commercial. Keep your eyes on your own paper. We're going to pause. Sid Caesar and I will be back right after station identification. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night, due to special election coverage, we will not be on tomorrow night, but Paul Schaefer and I will be helping out Tom Brokaw and John Chancellor and Roger Mudd with the election results. So be sure to join us then on Wednesday. My guests that particular evening will be Terry Garr, Emily Levine, and Stupid Petrix. That will be Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know. And immediately following Mr. Caesar's appearance, we have a message from the League of Women Voters. Also, actress Jessica Harper is here. Okay, the show is 90 minutes long. You come up 86 minutes, and you have no more show. What do you do?
Well, this happened to one time when I usually did my stand-up thing at the end. I just did it by myself.
This was a monologue?
A monologue by myself. Yeah. And I would always do something I would never tell jokes. I would just do attitudes and behaviors. I was supposedly having an argument with my wife. I was saying, all right, is that it? You finished? You don't want to talk no more? You want to say it? Get it off your chest. You got it. You said the last word. You got it. You said the last word. You're the winner. All right? You win. You're the winner. You will win the fight. And I get a stretch mark from the guy. Yeah. He goes... Now, I'm looking at him. I'm going, that means I got to stretch. So I said, you don't want to give it up, all right? You're going to keep on talking. You're going to argue with me. Oh, let the people up. Let the neighbors open. I opened up the window, all right? Now let the other people argue. You want to hear the argument? Come on, listen and hear. Tell the people what you told me. Go ahead. Tell them what you told me. Tell them what you told me. I'll tell you. You want to hear what she told me? I'll tell you what she told me. You want to listen to what she told me? Don't go away. I'll tell you what she... And I carried on like that for about another 2 minutes.
Yeah. Did you have to do that a lot, or were you pretty fortunate?
Well, sometimes you have to do it a lot. Yeah. Sometimes you have to cut it short, because sometimes I had an argument and say, you mean you... I don't want to talk.
Well, that must have been very exciting, though. I mean, that's something to laugh at afterwards.
Well, it's not. It's better than when they come over here and say, can we take it again, Harry? Just take it from the top. We'll take it again. Just the fourth time. We'll take the fourth take. But there's no adrenaline coming up into you when you're doing it. Because when you're doing it live, that's the humanity of it. A person can make a mistake. A person does make a mistake. And that's the fun of it. Because when the people watch it and they see it's live, there's an entirely different attitude. Because would you watch a football game if it was on tape?
No.
No, that's it. Yeah. There's only 3 things they can do with it. Kick it, throw it, and run with it.
Yeah.
That's it. But hundreds of millions of people, of course, it's live. And that's the same thing in a live show. You're seeing somebody really put out because they have to do it. You got to do it. That red light is on. That means you have to go and work. And all the adrenaline comes up. You get an entirely different performance. Because we had to cut now and say, okay, I'll do it again. You don't capture that. You don't get that wonderful adrenaline feeling.
Yeah, I know a lot of times we'll do something on this show that is so unbelievably perfect.
Right.
The first time through.
And then you try to do it again.
Yeah, and
that perfectness doesn't come through.
And people think that maybe this is the result of years and years of editing, but no, we do it the first time and that's it.
I mean, it's always perfect like this?
Oh, no. Let me ask you about watching... this is the last time that's... I guess Caesar's Hour was the last of the real... core programs that you did, the ones that people remember. What is it like for you in the period of time since to watch other comedy shows?
Well, it was very frustrating. First of all, I was awfully mad at myself. I had a terrible time. I mean, for 20 years, I didn't know who I was or where I was. And when I would watch that, I would be very paranoid about they're all doing it against me, you know. And it's I couldn't enjoy comedy.
Like when Saturday Night Live first came on the air, again here all of a sudden is a brand new live comedy show, probably similar in format to what you were doing. How did that make you feel? Angry?
Well, I was angry, but I would because I was unreasonably angry because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to think. How should I think about this?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like they would get a great idea, and it would be, gee, that's really good. I could take that. But they wouldn't develop it, you know. They wouldn't take it. I mean, that to me was very frustrating. And another thing was the latitude they have. You know, when they could use sex, we couldn't say pregnant. That was a dirty word. We couldn't allude to religion, and we couldn't do nothing about the politics because you could do a generic politician, but that was it. So you had to be ingenious to come up with something that make people laugh.
Now you mentioned here something that maybe people don't know a lot about. You were lost, and that was because you had a real tough time with
booze and pills.
Booze and pills, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am an alcoholic,
yeah.
and that's it. But the reason I wrote the book, not the only reason, but it's part of my therapy, writing the book and speaking about it and verbalizing it, because the more I talk about it, the better I feel about it, because I'm through with it. I'm finished with it. And once you don't have to lie to yourself anymore, that's the main thing,
yeah.
because when you make friends with yourself, and you do make friends with yourself, you don't have to lie to yourself. You don't have to lie to other people. You can learn how to be a friend to other people. If you're not a friend to yourself, how can you be friends with other people?
Let me ask you something that maybe you're perhaps tired of talking about, but it's really entertaining in a perverse way. You and Mel Brooks, and it was your brother, in a hotel room in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And you were drinking at the time.
That's right. This is my drinking time. I was in Chicago. I'd just done about 7 or 8 shows at the Chicago Theater. And I came back to my hotel and I started to get drunk, which was my pattern, to drink after my work.
And do you mind telling how much would get you drunk? What were you doing then?
Well, I would take about a bottle and a half of scotch.
Scotch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I would sit down. I would sat down, and Mel would be there. And Mel comes and says, "Gee, Sid, I don't want to sit here and watch you get drunk all night. I mean, why don't we go out?" I said, "We are out. This is Chicago. We're out." And he said, No. I mean, out. I said, "You want to go out? Okay, you go on out. I picked him up, and I took him over to the window. Is this out far enough now? Luckily, my brother was there, and he took us both back in.
This is how many floors up, you think?
18.
18. Yeah, that's...
Doesn't make any difference after 2.
No, I suppose not.
18 is just a good figure, you know.
But that kind of behavior was not unusual, as I understand from the book. I mean, this kind of
I would rip
violent
sinks out of a wall.
Oh, yeah.
I would get pretty mad.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But this is just, for me, trying to be, you know, I was so mad at myself because I didn't know. See, I was so afraid. I had no self-worth. I had no self-confidence. I thought that I wasn't doing all this. There was a certain power that was doing this. And maybe someday the power would take this away from me, and I would be gone. I would be lost. And I'd never tasted failure. I'd never known what failure is. I went from success to success to success. And not knowing failure, never even feeling failure, when I was canceled for real in 58, it was like the earth opened up and swallowed me because I really had nothing to do. I had nothing to fall back on. And this was the terrible part of my life.
You know, the other thing that's impressive to me about this period, I mean, it was the worst time for a human, but you kept on working. I mean, you were still getting job offers and
True, but I was like I was going on instinct because my body would show up and my mind wasn't there.
You went to just briefly mention what happened when you went to do the movie in Australia.
Oh, yeah, I went to Australia to do a movie, and I got on a plane, and I took my usual sleeping pills and my booze, and I woke up in Auckland, New Zealand, in a hospital. And then they finally got me to, my wife had to come and rescue me again.
They thought you were on your way out.
Yeah, that's right. And I went to Australia. I did a whole movie, which I never remembered. Never remembered being in Australia. I used to go and I said, "It's hot here now, isn't it? And it's November. Why should it be hot?" Because it's the other side of the world, but I didn't know.
So the entire
I had no idea.
The movie, Australia, complete blank.
That's right.
That's amazing. What are we going to do here? Are we pausing? We going to continue? What's
up? Why don't we tell some fun?
Okay, we're going... all right, we'll see what we can do on that line. We're going to go away for a commercial. We'll be right back. Hi, Sid Caesar is here. We're talking about Australia. You remember nothing about Paris, however. You had a very nice experience there, didn't you?
Paris was a turning point in my life. That's where I started to talk to myself in the tape recorder. But the wonderful thing about Paris is that, you know, when you live there for a couple of months, you start to know where everything is. And sometimes you get in a cab, and the only time I would put somebody on in French and double talk was if they did something, you know, like a cab driver would take me the wrong way, and I would know. And immediately, if I got in a cab, I'd say, "I want to go to the Étoile." He'd say, "Oh, monsieur, oui." And he'd throw the meter, and we'd go immediately the wrong way. I mean, opposite. Go the wrong way, and I'd say, "Monsieur, qu'attendre bi parfum bi dans le centre, bi continuer vers Manda, et son arbi mal l'autre rien. Son arbi dans la justice, dans le gendarme, tout de suite, il n'y a pas de temps." You just never saw a cab driver turn him around. But that was the way you had to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And there was the fun of going to places.
Fortunately, that kind of thing never happens here in New York City,
No,
so you don't need the...
You say, hey!
The book, it's delightful. Well, it's good and it's sad. I don't mean to say that. It's a delightful book, but there are sad parts in here.
Yes,
It's called Where Have I Been? Sid Caesar's a pleasure meeting you.
My
Sid.
pleasure.
Thank you very much for being here. Sid Caesar, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Caesar, you know,